A man not long ago showed me the notes he took 23 years earlier. And he said, Mr. Rohn, I've used these notes all these years in my business life, my personal life, my family. He said, I've made my fortune. And he said, I want to thank you for these notes. And he had me sign them after 23 years. It was just incredible. And he said, when I took these notes, I was 18 years old. So he was just a teenager sitting in the audience taking all these notes, but the notes he kept for 23 years. And it was such great pleasure and excitement for me to sign those notes. It's great when your name appears in someone's testimonial. First note for today, I would like for my name to appear in someone's testimonial. And it's so easy to do that. You don't have to give lectures and seminars. If you just recommend a book, that changed your financial future, recommend a book that helped you set goals, recommend a book that turns your life around, recommend a book that created better health, and you just pass that along to someone at a Tuesday breakfast, right? And someone later says, that book you recommended, I'm telling you, that started me reading, and then I read another one, and here's what's happened to me. Here's what's happened to me financially, socially, personally, and it all goes back 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when we had that Tuesday morning breakfast and you recommended that book. So it's pretty easy for your name to appear in someone's testimonial. And I get great delight in traveling around the world and having that happen for me. Now someone says, Mr. Rohn, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, I sat in your seminar, you shared some ideas, here's what's happened to me, my family, my income. So make this the second note of your notes for today. You never know who may be in your audience. You just don't know. Say, well, just a teenager, but we can't say just a teenager. We have to say each individual is important. So if you have a chance to share, here's what's important. Always do your best, always be sincere, and always tell as much of your story as you can to help someone else. Because you never know who you're talking to. Right? The next person that may be a friend for life, the next person that may be a business associate for a long, long time. So just have great respect for everybody, and then sincerely tell your story, or recommend a book, or share an idea. Because sure enough, a week from then, a year from then, years later, your name will appear in their testimonial. This is why teaching is so incredible. And this is why the greatest art in the world, the art of parenting, is so important, so that your influence can live on. Not just in your children, but the people that your children influence. And not just their children, not just your children and your grandchildren, but the people they influence. Right? The people your sons and your daughters influence, the people your grandchildren influence. So that the ideas that you stuck with and that you taught and that you carefully made sure they were nurtured in the minds and hearts and souls of your children, they go on and on and on. So how long-ranging is the impact of an idea? And the answer is infinitely. It can go as far as you can imagine ideas influence. Okay. So that's why I love to do seminars and have someone say, a year ago, Mr. Rohn, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And I'm doing my best to improve and get better. I don't want the day to come when someone says, you should have heard Jim Rohn 10 years ago when he was really terrific. I don't want that to happen. I want someone to say, hey, I heard him 10 years ago, but you should hear him now, right? He's taken off some of the sharp edges. He's, gotten a little better, reaching in the heart and soul. Here's really what I want to do. Take what's in my notebook and my notes and get it in your notebook. Take what's in my head, get it in your head. What's in my heart, hopefully get it in your heart. Then here's what I want you to promise me, that you'll pass it on to somebody else.
The first rule of success is simple. Vote yourself off the island. No more excuses. Do it or don't do it, but don't make excuses. Stop using your incredible brain to think up elaborate rationalizations and justifications for not taking action. Do something, do anything. Get on with it. Repeat to yourself, if it's to be, it's up to me. Losers make excuses. Winners make progress. Now, how can you tell if your favorite excuse is valid or not? It's simple. Look around and ask, is there anyone else who has my same excuse who is successful anyway? When you ask this question, if you're honest, you'll have to admit that there are thousands and even millions of people who've had it far worse than you, who have gone on to do wonderful things with their lives. And what thousands and millions of other people have done, you can do as well, if you try. It's been said that if people put as much energy into achieving their goals as they spend making up excuses for failure, they would actually surprise themselves. But first, you have to vote yourself off the island. Very few people start off with many advantages. Personally, I did not graduate from high school. I worked at laboring jobs for several years. I had a limited education, limited skills, and a limited future. And then I began asking that question. Why are some people more successful than others? This question changed my life. Over the years, I've read thousands of books and articles on the subjects of success and achievement. It seems that the reasons for these accomplishments have been discussed and written about for more than 2,000 years in every conceivable way. One quality that most philosophers, teachers, and experts agree on is the importance of self-discipline. Discipline is what you must have to resist the lure of excuses. It is self-discipline that enables you to vote yourself off the island. It is the key to a great life, and without it, no lasting success is possible.
Now here's what's important to have a good set of mental scales. What if in processing information your mental scales were off? And you weighed everything a little wrong? Do you think that would affect your life? The answer is, of course. And all you got to be is a little off for 10 years. And you can imagine what the difference is. I got a key phrase for you. Life accumulates. We either accumulate the debt or the value. We either accumulate the regret or we accumulate the equity. Now, we must all suffer one of two pains, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. And I'm suggesting discipline, mental discipline to refine ideas. Of course it's laborious and of course it's a push, but it's called small price to pay so that you won't have the regret later on. Regret weighs tons. Discipline weighs ounces. So if you accept the early ounces of discipline of thought to refine ideas and not just let major questions go by, what about society? What about the government? What about taxes? What about religion? What about life? What about capital? What about business? What about society? All of these major questions. What about my life and my value and my place and my future? And what about life? What about origin? What about destiny? What about opportunity? What about possibility? All of these major questions, to let them go casually by is to miss the treasures that your life could accumulate into in the coming months, the coming years. So this is called major. What we ponder and what we think about sets the course of our life. It's like the set of the sail that's taking us somewhere. Let me give you a good question to write down. Where are my thoughts taking me?